Welcome back to Monday Musings, a casual conversation about culture and theology. I'm Justin Ely.
And I'm Daniel Chen. We're just a couple guys talking about some stuff.
The stuff we are talking about is Andy Crouch's book, The Tech-Wise Family. So we're hoping to give some really practical tips for how to not let technology consume you, especially thinking through like families with kids, but this is really applicable to anybody. But eventually the AI is going to grow so smart they're going to take over and kill us all. So this podcast has a limited shelf life until the end of the human race, but we hope it helps.
I wonder what's going to happen when the AI reads that book.
Right.
What happens? Do they destroy the book?
I think they destroy the book.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the first step in AI taking over, is to destroy books about AI and technology that paint it in a bad light.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like for this, he has, 10? It's 10.
Yeah, like 10 commandments or steps or whatever. Yeah,
for your family.
principles.
And I think the main thing to take away really is we need to be talking about this with your spouse, about your kids.
Yeah.
And we want to put it on the forefront of how important it is and how much technology shapes us as individuals, but our families as well, and especially our kids. So, if you're listening, don't just listen. Actually have a discussion with your spouse to see, what to do in your family.
Yeah, I mean, the real question is, are you being tech wise by even listening to this podcast? And I mean, you're going to have to wrestle with that one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to take us a while to put this recording on our cassette tapes to send out.
But for a gift of any size, we'll send you a free cassette tape from Monday Musings. Oh, man. Well, before we get into that, we're going to start with our restaurant of the month. What do you got?
So I'm going to give it, but sorry, our joking around did remind me. I think I read something that for the first time since like the 70s, vinyl outsold CDs.
Wow.
Because, it's like cool to have like vinyl records again.
Sure.
And so I think like this past year was the first time the vinyl outsold CDs in like 40 years or something.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, CDs are just kind of annoying,
Yeah.
Our internet went out, which was like the apocalypse for us. So our kids were like, we want to watch our shows. I was like, you don't understand. There are none now. Like, it's all internet. And they're like, no, it's on Disney Plus. And I was like, yes, it's the internet. So we had to use DVDs, and man,
You think Walkmans are
they're gonna make a comeback.
make a comeback?
I'll just say that using those DVDs for that 24-hour period was just extremely tough on us. I mean, it was just, we really suffered for that.
Yeah,
so.
we had rough childhoods.
Yeah, I know. But okay, restaurant of the month. What do you have?
So my restaurant of the month is Chipotle.
Ooh.
So there's one that opened by our house. It's changed my life.
Yes,
I love
it's
Chipotle.
great.
And I just wanted to settle so I also do like Moe's.
Sure.
But there's always this battle. Which one's better, Chipotle or Moe's?
Yeah.
And I'm going to settle it right here. If you're talking about like the rice and the beef or like the meat, right?
Yep.
It's Chipotle hands down. There's no question about it. It's fresher, it tastes better, it's cooked better.
Yep.
But what people like about Moe's is the queso. Chipotle's queso is horrendous.
Sure.
But Moe's has more toppings and they have better queso. And so I've noticed that when people say I like Moe's better, they're toppings and queso people. But the people who like Chipotle better are the people who like the actual like entree, like the meat, like the literal meat of it.
Right.
Chipotle's is higher quality. And so
There you go. Chipotle.
what about you? If you would go Southwest?
I'd go Chipotle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their new what's the new chicken? The asada chicken or the
Yes.
It's very good. It's got a little kick to it.
Yeah.
I like it. You
Yeah.
don't seem thrilled.
I'm one of those people that I get this, like, once I like something, that's what I like.
Yeah.
And so I tried it, and I was like, I like the original chicken better.
Right.
Not because the asada wasn't better. I just there's like a nostalgia to eating the regular one for me.
I hear you.
So,
That's fair.
yeah.
That's fair.
I'm also a dark meat chicken guy, and I think the asada I got may have been white meat. So,
It's racist. Okay, my restaurant of the month is Jerusalem Bakery, and I think we've done this, but we were looking back at it on our notes, and it's not on there. So sorry if this is double dipping. But Jerusalem Bakery, the one closest to us is off of Old Milton Parkway. I found out there's another one. I was in some other part of town the other day. There was another Jerusalem Bakery. And, Mediterranean, Middle Eastern type of food.
Yeah.
It's really good. Massive portions.
Huge portions. Yep. Yeah. And it's just good,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm Asian, so anything with rice and meat to me is good. And so this is just a different form of rice and meat. So.
Yeah. You go to Jerusalem Bakery, and to the left side are a bunch of hookahs for purchase, I think. And to the right side are Islamic tracts.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Yeah.
But the food was delicious.
The food is really, really good there.
So I'm a fan. All right, the TechWise family. This is part 2 of the podcast. We're going to cover kind of the first part of the book, which is the 3 key decisions of a TechWise family. These are kind of broad principles that Andy Crouch goes through. And so these are the first 3 of the 10 commandments, so to speak, or their 10 principles of a TechWise family. So the first is this: we develop wisdom and courage together as a family. Throughout this book, throughout this chapter, he makes the point that we have to ask the question, what is family for?
Yeah.
And he said family is for the forming of persons. Family helps us form us into persons who have acquired wisdom and courage. And he talks about how wisdom is not just knowledge. Wisdom is understanding. And he says that basically, as families, we have to make every decision based on these questions. Will this help me become more foolish or more wise, more fearful and more courageous? So I think just as a broad principle, we're not even talking really about technology yet.
Right.
But asking, what is family for as a baseline, and for the forming of people, I think really sets you up for success when you begin to think about anything else.
Yeah. This reminds me, and I said this in my last sermon, and a piece of advice right before I had Meredith and I had our first daughter, our first kid. I was given the advice that to make a family constitution.
Sure.
So what does it look like to be a Chen?
Right.
And so we actually wrote a constitution called the Chenstitution.
Love it.
And I'm just going to read it for us real quick. And This is what it means to be a Chen. And I would recommend for you and your family to create a constitution for your family so your whole family knows, what does it mean? What are the values that we hold? And what are we trying to aspire to as people?
Mm-hmm. But it won't sound as good as Chinstitution.
Yeah.
Elitution. It just doesn't have the same ring. Yeah.
Consta-Eli.
Const.
So here's the Chenstitution. It says, we the Chens affirm and commit that we will, with God's help, worship God by abiding in Jesus, reading his word, praying, loving each other and loving others, enjoy each other and have fun together, encourage and support one another, welcome people into our home and lives, consider the needs of others more than we consider our own needs, communicate clearly with each other by telling the truth, not holding grudges, and assuming the best about each other, and to celebrate. God is good, and he loves us. There's a lot to celebrate. That's the Constitution. And I would say, I think Meredith and I are going to amend it. There's one more thing that I wanted to add on here, and which is just to work hard unto the Lord.
Yeah.
In this, because as our kids have entered school, we wrote this 7 years ago before we had our first kid. And even, for me, of course I want my kids to have good grades or whatever. I'm Asian. So it's important to me.
Whoa. What are you saying?
But really what I want is for them to learn how to work hard unto the Lord. And so I want to add that in there. But yeah.
What's your process for amending? I mean, what's the constitutional vote requirement? Who gets a vote? How many do they have to have? What's the percentage breakdown?
I guess we're complementarians, so
Watch yourself.
There's 2 votes, but I guess I get to slam the gavel, I guess, to say if we do it or not. So, the 2 votes are Meredith and I, though, so there's only 2.
this is getting awkward here.
We decide together,
No.
but I make the final decision. Is that
So you're saying all complementarians have gavels at home that they slam when they make decisions?
metaphorical gavel? You know.
Did I buy a gavel for myself when I was the junior beta club president in middle school? I don't know. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't.
Do you still have that?
Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. Along with my Atlanta Journal-Constitution cup, which has been fixed at my high school, by the way.
Good for you, Alpharetta, actually.
Thank you, Alpharetta. I received a picture proof of the fixed thing.
That's so funny.
So-
But the Constitution.
Yeah,
I
that's a
think,
good idea. I like
it's
that
just
a
been a
lot.
really good idea. We have it. You know, my sister-in-law is like incredibly talented, and she's like handwritten for us. We have it framed, and we put it in our kitchen. It's a great conversation piece for when people come
Yeah.
in. But it's a reminder to like Meredith and I, like this is what we do as a family, and you know what? It is what we try to instill in our kids, to abide in the Lord, to celebrate Him, to assume the best about each other, you know, all those things. And so as our kids get older and older, we're going to start kind of going through that with them, so they know this is what it means to be part of our family.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. He goes on to say, you know, it would be a mistake to assume family only means biological family. And that while that's absolutely a key place for forming wisdom and courage, the first family that we belong to is actually the church, the community of disciples who are looking to Jesus to reshape their understanding and their character. And so he also makes a point in this chapter to say, especially if you're single, don't think family dynamics don't apply to you, because the family of the church is our primary place where we're meant to be shaped and formed in Christ likeness. And so he also challenges us to think, if the church is a family, then we need to be a lot more family-like in how we go about things, and spend time with each other. And
I like that.
You can't be shaped by people you only see for 1 hour once a week, you know? And so a good question
See
too,
is like literally, like sometimes you only see them, you don't even talk to them.
right. You're like, I saw that guy for an hour out of the corner of my eye while I was singing the songs. So I think that's important too. It's like we develop wisdom and courage together as a church family as well.
Yeah.
And we belong to one another, and we're meant to be formed. So both biological households and faith family household, I think it's a good principle to start off with.
And I think it's cool, you know, we kind of stumbled into that in this terms of one of the reasons we started this podcast was to help, you know, say, what is it that we as a church believe? Of course, we have other listeners who go to different churches as well, and you know, we appreciate you guys listening in as well. But you know, that's kind of the initial reason we started this, was to, what does it look like for us to, you know, feed our family here at our church, and what does it look like to be a family together? And that's how this podcast in a sense started.
Yeah. When you said feed our family, it made me think of President George W. Bush when talking about the economy. He said, Americans are having a hard time putting food on their family.
Man, you got a lot of
I got
Bushisms.
a lot of I got them all up here. They're ready to go. All right. Principle number 2. This is really interesting. We want to create more than we consume. So we fill the center of our home with things that reward skill and active engagement. And then he says this at the very beginning of this chapter: the best way to choose character is to make it part of the furniture. Fill the center of your life together, the literal center, the heart of your home, the place where you spend the most time together, with the things that reward creativity, relationship, and engagement. Push technology and cheap thrills to the edges. Move deeper and more lasting things to the core. Now, this really messes with me because I gotta say, I love my flat screen TV mounted right above my mantle.
Yep.
Makes me so happy. But his point, which is fair, is like, you have put that in the very center of the room, which symbolically teaches people the center of this room together is staring at this box. And what he's recommending we do is move things like your kids' artwork and things that maybe they can draw on and different stuff that rewards skill rather than just sitting. Because really since the like flat screen TV, hanging it above the mantle is pretty common.
Right.
And it does make it the centerpiece of your living room. And he's saying, don't do that. What do you think?
I'm like, where would you put your TV then?
He says in this chapter, find the room where your family spends the most time and ruthlessly eliminate the things that ask little of you and develop little in you. Move the TV to a less central location and ideally a less comfortable one, and begin to filling the space that is left over with opportunities for creativity, skill, beauty, and risk.
That's one of those principles that sound great to me, but if I'm honest with myself, I'm not personally there.
I mean, I'm not doing it. I'm not moving that TV.
So I'm like I don't want to watch too much TV. I think that's a good principle.
Yeah.
And I want to raise the artwork and creativity in my household as well.
Sure.
But that TV's not going to move because, man, I already drilled those holes to put up the thing my TV hangs on and stuff.
And shout out to Nathan Baker, who drilled many holes in my wall. It can't come down because there's so many holes in there. It's dangerous.
Yeah, doing that stuff is kind of scary. It reminds me of that Friends episode where, is it Friends, where I think Joey comes in and there's someone's like, oh, I don't have a TV. And he's like, what's your furniture pointed at, or something like that.
Yes.
I was like, all right, that's pretty funny.
It's so true.
It is. But I think there's what does he say he does to practically accomplish this idea? Because this is I'll admit, this isn't something I've thought a ton about.
Yeah.
But I do want to promote that creativity in work, and it's not just consumption. Because he has a point. Like when we turn on a YouTube video, my kid's first statement is "skip it," meaning skip the ad. And
right, yeah.
And I was like, no, you don't talk to me like that. But it is training them to be a consumer,
Yes.
No, I don't want to sit through this. You skip it right away,
Mm-hmm.
So I do get his point, but
yeah, I think he has a lot of art supplies and instruments, and he talks about better to pick a piano than a cheap keyboard. Pick real things that aren't electronic. That so he. Skip the plastic, skip the batteries, skip the things that work on their own, or if they find their way into your home anyway, put them at the edges. In the center, put the things that both adults and children will find endlessly engaging, demanding, and delightful. But yeah, that's. I would love to hear if you're a listener, if you're like that,
right.
If you have done this.
Yeah.
Because I think it could be. Very rewarding, but it would be a massive lifestyle shift.
Yep.
But probably a good one.
I wonder if there's
honestly.
a middle ground here. My sister-in-law, who is very artistic, she hates the idea of having a TV as the centerpiece, and so they do have a TV. But what she does is they have I guess you can program it or whatever to have a certain picture, so it looks like a piece of artwork when the TV's not on. And I think that was kind of cool. When you walk in at first, it doesn't look like a TV; it looks like a piece of art, and the TV frame looks like a frame. I'm like, is that a kind of a middle ground, or does that still defeat the purpose he's going through? But I would say to his point, we play a lot of card games in my house. We do puzzles. Mm-hmm. My daughter is very artistic, but my oldest son is very creative. He plays these, when I played with toys when I was a kid, I could only play with them for a certain amount of time, and then I just moved on to something else. But my son plays with toys like they do in the movies and stuff. He creates all these stories with these dinosaurs. They fight each other, and he does it for hours. And I'm like, how do you do this?
Right.
And so. Yeah, like promote that, you know?
Yep.
And I think it goes with like, I would say my version of this is like, yeah, like when we do daddy kid time, we're not watching TV together, you know? We're also making them play outside. We're making them play games together. And I think that is important. If the TV is on all the time, you are definitely going to create a consumer.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I remember I took at Georgia, like it was like an architecture class or something, and we talked about like, you know, different cities. The architecture really shows you what people value, what people worship, really, and so we looked at examples of like old like European cities. The biggest thing in the middle of the city is the church, you know, and the symbolism was this is what's most important. Then we looked at a like overhead, drone shot of Athens, Georgia, in Sanford Stadium, massive thing right in the heart of campus. What does it say? Football's the most important thing here.
Yeah.
You know? And
that's so interesting.
You know, I guess, and he's doing it on a micro level in this book, looking at your home. Like, how does the like architecture and arrangement of your house say what's important? Interesting thought, but yeah, I'm not quite there either.
Yeah, just from a practical standpoint.
Yeah.
I
mean, I got all these holes in my wall. What am I going to do about that? All right, number 3, last one for today. We are designed for a rhythm of work and rest. So 1 hour a day, 1 day a week, and 1 week a year, we turn off our devices and worship, feast, play, and rest together. It's a really neat idea. 1 hour a day, he talks about, you know, you put the phones in a basket or something, and they're during dinner, and they're not available, which I think is a really healthy thing. 1 day a week, I think he like... phones and laptops and stuff are like off pretty much. And then 1 week a year, it's like a device-free vacation.
Yeah.
Which I think, you know, it's funny though. It's like for a young parent, if your kids are like anywhere other than right where you are, you got to have your phone because they got to be able to reach you.
Right.
And then like we're going to Disney in a few weeks. I need my phone to like book like the restaurant. So it's not always possible, but I think a really helpful idea. And he talks in here, this is really interesting, about the difference when we're thinking about resting, the difference between rest and leisure. He says, if toil is fruitless labor, you could think as leisure as fruitless escape from labor. It's a kind of rest that doesn't really restore our souls, doesn't restore our relationships with others or God. And crucially, it's the kind of rest that doesn't give others the chance to rest. Leisure is purchased from other people who have to work to provide us our experiences of entertainment and rejuvenation. A game of pickup football in the backyard can be real rest as long as the competitive spirit doesn't get out of hand. But watching football on TV is leisure. And not just because we're not burning many calories, it is leisure because we are watching others work or indeed toil for our enjoyment. It doesn't really matter whether the workers are well paid like professional football players or paid minimally or indirectly like college athletes. From the point of view of the Sabbath commandment, it's still work. And I can really identify with that. I mean, sometimes sitting on the couch and watching TV for hours often is not restful.
Right.
It is leisure. I mean, you can chill out, but it doesn't like rejuvenate you.
I mean, that's what, like binging Netflix is, right? What I would disagree with him on, though, is I do think watching sports can be restful. I also think it can be leisure. I also think it could be like, I like that difference between the rest and leisure, because a lot of times you play video games, you watch TV or whatever, it is leisure, but you don't feel rested, right? So I do get that, but I do think it can be restful. I think it has to do with, I think he said something about like escaping, right?
Right.
I think that if it's escapism, I don't think it's rest. And I would probably hit more on that than what you're actually doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. he talks about how he says maybe the high watermark of leisure at home was the 1970s invention of the TV dinner. So this prepackaged microwave meal that basically someone else prepared, that some thing heated up for you, that you sit and you just stare at a screen and watch people do stuff. And that might be leisure, but it's not necessarily rest. He says, when the art of cooking is replaced by meals warmed up in a microwave, something a 5-year-old can do as well as a 55-year-old, then children no longer see their mothers or fathers doing something challenging, fruitful, admirable, and ultimately enjoyable. Instead, the family's life together is reduced to mere consumption, purchasing the results of others' work or toil.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah. I like how he's tied those points together. You know, he's kind of building on that same foundation.
Yeah. Yeah. What advice would you give? I mean, I like the structured idea of an hour a day a week a year. Even like outside of technology, even thinking about rest in general. Thoughts on like applying that paradigm to life? Hour a day a week a year.
Like in a practical sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the hour a day, I think the no phones at dinner thing is a really easy way to do that. And something I can improve on as well. But I mean, we normally eat dinner together as a family and don't use our phones. But there are some times where I'm answering a text or
Something's
something.
happening, yeah.
Our kids aren't old enough to have phones yet, but that's something we're definitely going to do when our kids have phones, is that no phones at dinner. I think eating dinner together as a family is incredibly important.
Yeah.
I forgot the statistics, but there's some crazy statistics on like health of a child that eats with their family. And it's like that
so
little
different.
act. And I know there'd be times where all your kids are playing different sports or whatever, but yeah, as much as you can, you know, eating dinner together. So it's an hour a day, a day a week. Yeah, honestly, a lot of this is challenging for me. I don't disagree with it, but that's tough. You know?
Yeah.
I think a week a year, I'm like, I don't even see how that's kind of practical.
Yeah.
In this kind of world anymore. But maybe that's just because I've been so formed by this world. I mean, I just got to really think about it. But I do think fasting from the technology is something I need to improve on myself. And I would say, like, if you are like me, trying to aim for an hour a day, a day a week a year is too big of a jump for most people. What I would suggest is, you know, when we try to aim for a goal, maybe it takes 10 steps. We don't start at step 9 and go to step 10. We start at step 1, right? And so I think I would ask, what is step 1 for you? What is step 2 for you?
Yeah.
What is step 3 for you? Take those steps one at a time. And so I think for me, something I'll think about is, how do I fast from my phone an hour a day? That's reasonably going to be, you know, challenging for me to do every day, but reasonable for me to do. I would say if I started to say, even I'm going to give up technology one day a week, I will fail quickly. And then get demoralized and stop doing it.
Yeah.
If I'm honest with myself. And so I don't think I can start there.
Yeah.
I think I can get there.
Yeah.
But I don't think I can start there.
Yeah.
And so starting at a place where you say, okay, I think even for your kids, if your kids watch 3 hours of TV a day,
well, stop it.
The goal isn't to say cold turkey.
Yeah.
You're going to change your whole life. You're going to watch 0.
Yeah.
Well, maybe what I'm saying is maybe you start by saying 2 hours a day.
Right.
Then 1 hour a day. You know, like scale it back where it's reasonable and start trying to go cold turkey. And most people who go to cold turkey end up going back to the original or worse because they give up.
Sure.
Right? So do things that are reasonably you're able to do, but still out of your comfort zone and a challenge for you. That's what practical advice I would give.
Yeah, that's
What
good.
about you?
You know, yeah, I'd say maybe something similar of, like, why don't you take it and apply it to your work email.
Starting with that.
Not all technology, your work email. So for 1 hour a day, you know, at dinner time. You're not checking, leave your phone at the door or whatever. One day a week, just turn your email off. Don't look at incoming messages. Just rest. The problem will still be there the next day. You can deal with it then. And then 1 week a year, turn off your work email. That would be a good start.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Not all technology, but starting with...
Yeah, pick one thing that tends to consume you the most.
I will say one of the things that you told me you did that you kind of, I don't know if forced is the right word, into doing was you made me take a Sabbath.
Yep.
Once a week.
Yep.
And we do not check work email.
No.
Oh.
And we do not talk unless we're exchanging memes that have nothing to do with our job.
Right. And it's been life-changing.
Yeah.
Just to have one day to actually Sabbath away from your work.
Yeah.
Has been incredibly beneficial for just my spiritual health, my mental and emotional health, but also to work better the other days.
Sure.
Yep. Because it's like when you're done with that rest, you want to go back to work.
Mm-hmm.
And if you work 7 days a week, you never want to go back because you're always doing it.
Right.
Right. And I'm like, and then the 1 week a year, that's a great idea, man.
Thanks,
As you're
man.
saying that, I'm like, that's a great idea. Pick one area to start with.
Yeah, pick something that is probably like most enslaving to you and least life-giving.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be video games or it could be
Social media.
Yeah. I had to just get off Twitter because it's just a dumpster fire. I was like, I found myself getting stressed out about controversies to which I had nothing to do with. And I was like, why? And it's mainly the Christians on Twitter that just need some good old-fashioned church discipline, in my opinion. I'm like, I'm not even upset by the pagans on Twitter. They're fine. They're great. It's the Christians.
Well, because and then they're acting how you would expect them to act,
right? Right. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's work email, maybe it's text. Something I've struggled with, and I wish Apple would develop something for this. Maybe they have. Maybe you know about it. I'm fine to turn off my work email because it'll be there when I get back, and it'll show up as unread. I wish there was an easier way to like just turn off texting, and then be able to come back to it, because I feel the pressure to respond to text immediately.
Yeah. I know you can mute texts.
Yeah, I know you can click like the sleep function or whatever.
Yeah.
But they still come through. I don't like to see the red dot. If I see a red dot, I'm pressing it.
Yeah, I don't know if you can.
So I don't think you can.
Yeah, I don't know if you can.
Or same of like, I wish maybe if someone here's working at Apple, I would like there to be an auto reply for text, just like there is for email.
I think there is.
Is there really? I would really like that.
Maybe there's not. I don't know. I think I know how to use about 5% of the functionality of my phone. So
because I would like people to know, I got your text. I'm not responding to it anytime soon.
Right.
Talk to you later. But I don't think that's a function. So, yeah, just a thought for how to increase your rest. So those are kind of 3 foundational principles as we go through. Any concluding thoughts from you?
I think super helpful. I think once again, how you practically apply this is going to look different from family to family. But take the principles and really apply them of what creating family values. Looking to create rather than to consume, like take these principles with you. Don't feel the pressure to apply it exactly the same way as the author does or that we do.
Sure.
But really do try to apply it, because really we're trying to get to the heart of the issue here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us on Monday Musings. We'll be back next week to talk about part 3 of this, which is really daily life, technology and daily life. So we look forward to talking to you then.